Marketing and selling is essential in your online business. And when you have the right strategies and mindset, you not only can make a lot of money, but you can change a lot of lives. Welcome to the Online Marketing Podcast, where we help course creators, membership owners, and coaches market and sell their offers.
We're your hosts, Paul and Melissa Pruitt. Let's dive in and get started.
Fill your launch with buyers using these strategies.
You mean not non-buyers?
We definitely want some buyers.
Oh, I think that'll make our business stay around a lot longer.
I think I would too.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to talk about this because a lot of people do struggle when they build their lists ahead of time and their audiences ahead of time. And what ends up happening is there's a lot of incongruency. We talked about before in other spaces, but when you're putting a random topics out there in the world, you're just collecting a lot of random people. They didn't wake up this morning like really wanting to go through your launch mechanism, the topic, whatever you're going to cover in your launch. So we have to be very careful. And really what we want to do is we want to enter that conversation that they're already having about maybe a month, maybe 30 days in advance.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is all about having the conversations that the people that you want in your world, those buyers, are already having. So again, like Paul said, if you're having a lot of random conversations out there, it might be good for conversations, but again, you're going to have random results and you might not necessarily be attracting the right people that might actually be interested in your paid offers. So this is really all about knowing your buyers, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what's going on with them, what's a day in a life like for them, so that you can have those conversations that are going to be super relevant and interesting for them.
Yeah, I'm glad you reiterate it. And that's really what the topic is. The difference today is that word buyers. So when you're doing research and you look at like your past clients, your buyers, they probably had different type of conversations in topics that they're interested in versus people that are just like tire kickers, people that are like browsing the car lot, but not really committing to it. You know, so they're going to have a different type of conversation, different questions. And I think a lot of us, we spend a lot of time, energy, and effort in like free spaces in the real world and online world. And we get caught up in the conversation like, wow, this is what people are talking about. But really, it's like everybody that wants the free buffet versus people that are actually willing to pay for the meal. And those are completely different conversations that are happening in those virtual tables in a way.
Yeah. And we should definitely welcome the questions. When people are having these kinds of questions, then keep note of that, because those questions you should be answering in your content. I know for me, when I am in that buying mode, I have lots of questions. And so I end up, sometimes if I can't find it, I do a lot of research. But wouldn't that be interesting that if like, instead of making your audience do the research, you are the source, you're the source, the information to give them that information back so that they can get those questions answered.
Yeah. And I think we've all been in that experience where we've gone into somebody's launch and we're like, man, do they have a camera in my house? Like they know what I'm thinking. Like they know what's going on here. They must be at the dinner table with a microphone because they know, like I said that exact thing yesterday. Like you're in my head, right? And a lot of that comes because really what we want to do is we want to enter the conversation that your buyers are already having before they come into your launch.
And you had mentioned doing this about 30 days before you launch. This is what's really important. What's really magical because it just feels for everyone just more organic and it makes more sense because you're answering these questions, you're having these conversations. It's about a month out before your launch. And then as it gets closer and closer and closer to your actual launch, that's where you could say, hey, I know we've been talking about all this. By the way, I have something that I think you might be interested in.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to echoing that conversation because I think a lot of us think, you know, from our point of view, we're the expert. We've gone through the journey. We've had the transformation. We've had the result. Now we want to help other people navigate that and not have to deal with the trial and error and the hiccups and the skinning of the knees, you know, per se, in their lives versus what we had to go through. But the challenge is that our perspective is because we had all those experiences. A lot of times we jump ahead and we kind of do what you reference as like coach speak a lot of times, where we want to talk about things like that are important to us, where we're at like almost like if we're peers that have already had the transformation, we're already the experts. And then we just want to spout all this like, you know, really advanced knowledge, but we're really not meeting people where they are. Like what's the conversations that they're having? And that's the interesting thing is like, we're just really echoing back what they're already talking about.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up about the coach speak because I see that a lot, especially in your copy when I'm looking at sales pages of our members and kind of evaluating that. It's you have a lot of great information, but you go in this mode where it's very academic coach speak and people don't really understand what you're talking about. What I always encourage people to do is when they're communicating with people, and this will also help you too with those conversations, is to think about, if your audience was in a movie, like what exactly would be happening on the screen? What would a day in the life like be like for them? And if you could picture that, then that's a way that you can really enter those conversations, because you can picture what a day in life is like for them, the struggles that they have, the things that are kind of getting in their way that are just like annoyances, big problems, little problems, and also the things that they look forward to as well too. And when you really understand your people and what's going on with them, then the conversations that you reflect back really reflected what's going on in their life, and they feel really connected to you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you referenced the contrast there, because you were going to have a lot of people in all of our audiences that like live in the pain, they live in the struggle, and they're not willing to invest in themselves to get fixed. They're always looking for like the free, easy answer. They don't really want to put in the work. And a lot of times those are not our buyers in the group. So contrasting and going into the other side, which is more the aspirational, the dream state, like how life can be in those conversations. So because a lot of people, if we just stay in that pain part of it,
it's not fun.
It's because really what we want to do is leaning in. And as you're building up, so when you're that 30-day runway out and you're entering their conversation, you're getting in their head, you know you're hitting the nail on the head when your people are loving your posts, they're sharing because they can relate to what you're saying. Now, they're going to most likely share more of an aspirational thing than they'll share like a negative, thing. You know what I mean? But in that conversation that you're echoing back and forth, again, you're in the head of that person, right? We're guiding them, but we need to have a tonality, because really, as we get closer to the launch, as we get closer to the date where you actually have your launch vehicle that you're doing, we really want to create anticipation. We want to create excitement. We want to create desire, so that when people wake up in the morning, like they really want to enter your launch. And if we miss that, if we're like, hi, let me talk about problems you have. Like, that's like bad therapy, right?
Yeah.
So nobody wants to show up for that, right?
Yeah. You definitely want to have that excitement. Like, one of the best things that can happen is you've built up so much excitement through all this content, all these conversations, that by the time you come to the launch, before you've even gotten to the opportunity to open up your cart for the offer, people are just like, okay, I'm ready to buy. Just give me the button already. I'm in. Like, that's like the greatest compliment. And that's how you know you've built up that anticipation, that excitement, and you're really connecting with your people.
Yeah, I always call it like virtually waving money at you. Like, stop talking. Where's the button? I want to buy. I'm in.
Exactly.
And that means, though, that you really connected with them. You came from the Guru Mountain, you came down the hill, and you met people where they're at, the conversations that they're having. You're echoing that back and forth, and you're guiding people into that buying decision. Now, what's really interesting, though, Melissa, is in these tips, though, and you create this excitement and everything, we see a lot of people get deflated going into a launch, because they see these big, huge influencers. They see the millions of followers, the tens of thousands of people watching a Facebook Live or Instagram or whatever, and they really get in their head about the numbers.
Yes.
And some of our most successful launches that we've ever had have been just because we connected better with a smaller group of people versus trying to blast a whole big, huge audience.
Yeah. You don't need to have thousands and thousands of people. You just need to have the right people that are perfectly aligned with your offer, that are really interested in the transformation that you're promising. And again, by having these conversations before your launch that are really relevant to them, those are the kinds of people that you're going to attract. So don't focus so much on like getting a ton of people in, because again, some of those people might not be relevant. They might not really be interested in what you're doing, but the relevant people, the people that are right for your offer, the people that are really interested in the transformation, those are the individuals that you want to really hone in your conversations with.
Yeah, and speaking of conversations and wanting to grab the right people in, we have your back. We have you covered. Yes. Melissa, we have something incredible, a freebie that everyone can download that'll actually lean into this conversation.
Absolutely. So it's our free launch conversation calendar. So this is really going to help you map out those kinds of conversations that you should be having with your audience leading up to your launch. So you know exactly what to say those 30 days out. And as it gets closer and closer, what kind of conversations make more sense for your audience. So if you head over to the show notes, you can go ahead and grab the launch conversation calendar. And again, figure out the kind of conversations that are going to make sense, especially when it comes to launching.
Yeah, I love this. Having that launch conversation calendar is really going to have you tune in, because today we tapped into all the elements that you need to think of. We really want to fill your launch with buyers, not just those freebie seekers. So by being intentional on each of those steps, you're really going to lead in. And how are we going to do that? Through the freebie, but with that, and keep in mind, as we covered today, is you're going to speak into the conversations that your audience is already having. You're going to guide people through that 30-day runway, and sometimes it might be a little longer, sometimes a little bit less, depending on the launch that you're doing. And really what we're doing throughout the entire process on our social media, online, offline, We're echoing the conversations that people have already had. Remember, we're going to kind of get into their mind like, oh my goodness, are you in my house? That's exactly what I was talking about yesterday. And from there, we're going to build that excitement. We're going to build and create that desire and anticipation. We're going to have that energy coming in because we have the right aligned people. And from there, we just got to remember, when you have the right people, then you don't need as many of them. Mm-hmm. You will have more potential buyers in your audience than you will have just random freebie seekers all over the place. This is a really exciting episode today.
This was great. If you love today's show, make sure you subscribe to the Online Marketing Podcast. This is where we talk all things about online marketing, getting your offer out there in front of the right audience. And please share it with a friend. Let them know this is what we jam on each week. We would love to have them join us and learn how they can really take their online marketing to the next level.
Yeah, this is a great episode again. And don't forget that launch conversation calendar. And besides that, until we talk again, remember, you're just one launch away from being an adaptive marketer.
If you would like to work with us and our team to help you snap up more sales and incredible clients with a stellar marketing strategy that works, go to adaptivemembership.com and sign up for our wait list. We have a limited number of spots in our exclusive program to set you up for success and take action. We're waiting for you at adaptivemembership.com.